Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be watching from, and welcome to AMN Healthcare International's live show, Onwards and Upwards, where we discuss everything a global healthcare worker needs to know about living and working in the United States. I am your host, Danielle Friedman. Very excited to be here with everyone. Oh, it's a very jivey new tune we've got. So if you're joining us for the first time, we are going through a rebrand, as you can see, and hopefully you're enjoying our new logo and our new music. I know it made my morning a little exciting, so that's great. If you didn't catch it and you're joining us for the first time, my name is Danielle Friedman, and I am our host here today on Onwards and Upwards, speaking to you live from San Diego, California. And if you are new to our show, welcome. We are AMN Healthcare International, the largest provider of both direct hire and staffing opportunities all across the United States. And our positions are constantly changing and updating. So please feel free to check our website, and our recruiters can help you with the latest and greatest. That link is amnhealthcare.com/international, and you can apply. We're going to drop the link in the chat so you can click on it, and we would be very excited and very honored to help you reach your American dream. So please let me know where you are watching from today. We love to see where our viewers are watching from. We're usually spanning the globe. I sit in the United States, but we have people coming from all over. And I so appreciate your time joining us with your thoughtful and insightful questions. So let's see, who do we have joining us? We have Chris joining us from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, just north. Hi, Chris. We have Julius from Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome, Julius. Mohammed from England, Floremi from Alabama, Mirembe, Floremi, Michael from Kenya. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. Today, we have our once-a-month immigration Q&A. We do an update on the recent visa bulletin, and we take your questions live. So this is free time, free advice to get from our legal experts. So please use it. Put your questions in the chat. If you have the question, I'm sure somebody else has the question as well. So please feel free to put it in the chat, and we would be very excited to take your questions. So without further ado, let's bring out our legal experts. Good morning, Chris and Mike. So happy to have you both here today, the week before Thanksgiving. Oh,
Good morning.
I see Mike's on an ode. I like the attorney. Happy Thanksgiving. Very nice.
Yes.
How are you both doing today?
Good.
Okay, good. What are you guys thankful for Thanksgiving? Let's start with Mike, since you have an ode to Thanksgiving in your title.
I'm thankful that there's going to be a lot of food at my mom's house for Thanksgiving.
Oh, the food on Thanksgiving is my favorite. I wait all year. If you are new to Thanksgiving, it's an American holiday where we give thanks for things we are grateful for, and the food is very good. Pumpkin pie, turkey, cranberry stuffing. See Mike look like this. We're both excited.
Yes.
Please let us know what you're all thankful for. You don't need to be in the United States to celebrate Thanksgiving. We want to know what you're thankful for around the world. So please put it in the chat. Chris, what are you thankful for?
Yeah, no, just thankful for another year that I'm standing, simple thoughts.
I love that. I was thinking what I'm thankful for this morning, and I was thinking my health as well, because I feel like sometimes it's easy to take for granted. And also thankful for doing something I love. I have a lot of friends that do things they do not love every day, and I'm thankful that I get to work with people like you guys. Thankful I get to help our nurses and really make a difference. So good things to be thankful for. All right, well, let's take a moment and introduce yourselves, because you're more than just, thankful for Thanksgiving. Let us know a little bit about yourselves for anybody who might be joining for the first time. Mike, why don't we start with you?
Sure. My name's Mike Hammond. I'm an immigration attorney in Cincinnati, Ohio. I work for a company called CIP, or Corporate Immigration Partners, Envoy Global. I've been doing healthcare immigration for a few years.
And when Mike says a few, he's being humble. He is a seasoned expert, which means he knows what he's doing. So if you're watching along, Mike is very good at taking our questions. So please feel free to put them in the chat and we can ask Mike and Chris. All right, Chris, your turn.
Yeah, no, Chris Musillo, healthcare immigration attorney. I've been doing this for nearly as long as Mike, but not quite as long.
And that translates to they are both very seasoned attorneys and know what they're doing. So please put your questions in the chat. And Mike and Chris are here every month giving their time freely. We're very thankful. They're very busy and we appreciate their insight and their advice. So let's get started with what happened for the December visa bulletin. So Mike, let's start with you.
Sure. So there's two charts in the December, in every visa bulletin, the date for filing chart and the final action date chart. Put up the final action date chart there, and you'll see that for the Philippines, it moved forward in the EB3 category by about 2 weeks. The rest of the world also 2 weeks, and for those who might be in allied categories, the EB2 category moved up about 2 months. So we saw a little movement in the December bulletin in this chart. And the final action date chart is the most important chart for individuals overseas, because that means you can get scheduled for an interview and actually be approved, given your immigrant visa or your green card, and then enter the U.S. and start working. The date for filing chart did not move. It's not expected to move. It rarely moves throughout the fiscal year, and if it is going to move, it's generally late second quarter or early third quarter. So this is not a huge movement, but it is movement forward. So we're thankful for that, using our theme of thanks.
There you go. You got it. We are thankful for that. We are thankful for some movement. Maybe not as much as some of us may have been hoping, but there is still time. We're still freshly into the year. You know what the next question is going to be. Everybody wants to know what you both think and where you think the next couple of months are going to go, the rest of the fiscal year. Chris, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we will see this year move at a roughly 1 week for 1 month average, which doesn't necessarily mean we will see every month it will move a week. I think it'll be more like we've seen here. So in October, it set the new visa bulletin at April 1st for both the all other and the Philippines, 2023, of course. We saw no movement in November, and then in December, we saw it jump actually 2 weeks, right? So I think we'll see that kind of movement, which will be a few months off and then a few weeks forward. And, if you fast forward to next summer, I suspect it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of July of 2023. And that's not, there's no inside information there. That's just simply reading both Chart A and Chart B together.
What about you, Mike? Anything to add on thoughts for future and movement in the future?
Well, since we're being thankful, and I'm thankful for people who are optimistic, I'm not saying that's me. I'm just thankful for people that are like that. I'm going to step in and say we're going to get a month beyond July 2023.
Well, it's Thanksgiving, so it's time to be thankful and ask for some big positive things to happen. So we'll go with it.
Yeah, I think like Mike, I would. I'm gonna, if I had to, make a bet, I would also agree that it might move a little beyond July. One thing, and Mike touched on it a minute ago, is the EB2 jumped up a little more than I think we expected, and so that might mean that if there's fewer EB2 numbers being demanded, that some could drop. There could be some overall ease in the demand. So I think I like Mike's prediction.
Do they release, Chris? Do they release numbers of how many have been applied? So, like when you say, "Oh, there might have been less demand for EB2," is that just we're kind of guessing, or do they actually release numbers and we know that there are less applications, maybe in other categories, therefore leaving us more visas?
Well, I think the best thing to do is to actually look at the visa bulletin itself. We do see some numbers released by the U.S. government. I got to tell you, Danielle, often the numbers are released way later So they're reflecting numbers that happened 6 months or even a year and a half ago. So that's kind of difficult. And then again, the other piece is, to be fair to the State Department, they don't necessarily know how many visas are claimed and then go unused. Maybe the applicant has decided not to move forward with his or her case. They don't know if does a family at that NVC stage, or indeed even at the embassy appointment, do they show up just by themselves? Do they show up with a spouse and kids? Some of that information is unknown. But I think so in my mind, the best prediction of the visa bulletin is in fact the visa bulletin. I think people often try to get more granular with their analysis, and I'm just not sure all that extra work leads to any better data. And in fact, I think it probably leads to worse predictions. And so again, I would look at the visa bulletin numbers themselves, and then put a little intelligence on them, like Mike did, where he's saying maybe a little beyond July.
And when we say that, just to confirm that I'm understanding right, Mike, we're saying a little beyond July, meaning July is the date for filing date. And we usually look at that to see how far the visa bulletin will probably move. So we think probably by the end of this fiscal year, we'll get to around July of 23, right?
Yeah, when they set the dates at the beginning of the fiscal year and they set the date for filing date, historically, that's been kind of, think of it as the goal. That's their projection of what they can get to for the course of the fiscal year. And so we look and we go, okay, we're out at July 1st, 2023. We started April 1st. We think it'll move forward and get to July by the end of the fiscal year. Last year, the date for filing chart moved maybe 2 months in the course of the year further. So I'm expecting, again, this year to be a little bit of movement forward, but think of that as our goal.
Okay, got it. So I'm curious, and I will ask either of you, whoever wants to take this one, what have we learned from the past? Is this retrogression similar to what happened in the past? Have we had retrogression in the past? Can we learn anything from the past? I know this is maybe before my time, so I'm a little curious what you both have thought over your years of seeing this potentially happen before. Mike, I kind of saw your head going like this. So
well, I just wanted to say, I appreciate you getting in that dig it. You're way younger.
It was way before my time, so I just don't know.
And I. So thank you. Appreciate that. Especially from someone who just had a birthday not that long ago. But no, I mean, we're sitting at now roughly the 2.5-year mark. I think if we look over the last, couple of decades of retrogression, 2.5 has not been unusual. So we're not really in an unusual scenario here. We had an aberration for a couple of years where we had little to no retrogression as a result of COVID and some factors related to the family-based immigrant visa availability crossing over and getting poured over into the employment-based category. And I think that kind of made people feel that retrogression had gone away when in reality it hadn't. We just simply added in additional supply. I think one of the things that's going on right now, and Chris mentioned an ease in demand, is that, we obviously have a lot of situations going on economically here in the U.S. that may be impacting that ease or be impacting that demand. We also have significant changes to the H-1B category, which, though it does not directly affect nurses, affects international recruitment altogether. And so there's a lot of uncertainty going on in the international visa world here in the U.S., and I believe that is playing a factor into the demand.
Okay. Well, interesting. Thank you for your thoughts. I appreciate it. And I did just want to clarify that while I am fairly new, as in 5 years, which is still not that new, to the international recruitment space, AMN has been doing international recruitment for over 40 years. So if you are joining us for the first time and you don't know much about AMN International, I advise you to check out our website. We have been doing international recruitment for over 40 years. We've seen a thing or two. We've dealt with a thing or two, and we know how to handle retrogression. We know how to handle your application, so you can feel confident moving forward. So please feel free to check out our website. That's amnhealthcare.com/international, and our recruiters are on hand, ready, and waiting to help you with your application. So I see we have a lot of questions in the chat, so let's get to some of those questions. Okay, Chris, I'm going to turn to you first. So Ogu says, hello, I got an email from the NBC asking me to choose a place for my visa interview, either my home country or London because I reside in England. What does this message mean? Thank you.
Yeah, so recently the Trump administration here in the United States wants to make sure that folks are attending visa interviews only in places where they reside or are national of. And so they are confirming that you are processing at the correct embassy. We recommend you talk to your case manager or you check with your attorney and let them help you complete that document to make sure that it's filled out completely. But that's all it is. It's nothing out of the order. Well, it's unusual, but it's not going to impact the processing of the case. What it might actually mean is that they are able to wean out some cases that have maybe stagnated, which ultimately might help move the visa bulletin a little forward, theoretically.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Okay, so Mike, we have a question from Michael. You got the same name, so you got to take Michael's question. Michael says, about the issue of first in, first out, as far as priority dates are concerned, doesn't include the DQ, or it considers both. I've been current from October 2024 with a priority date of October 2022 and a DQ of September of 2024. I'm still waiting. Anything can be done to expedite the case. So I think if you could just take a step back and also explain a little bit more for somebody who is joining us what Michael means, that would also be helpful, Mike. Thank you.
Sure. So in order to get an interview at the consulate, wherever you're assigned to, you first have to have a current priority date. Okay. But in addition to having a current priority date, you have to be DQ'd. DQ stands for documentarily qualified. It simply means that you have submitted all the appropriate documents needed to something called the National Visa Center, who kind of acts as like an administrative or a clerical role for the consulates. And so once you are DQ'd and your priority date's current, then you can be eligible to scheduling an interview. If you've been DQ'd and current since October 2024, we're talking over a year and still not had a interview. I would reach out to either your case manager or the attorney working on your case to see if they can find out what's going on. That's unusual. There are certainly consulates that are further behind than others, and some consulates are fairly quick, and you can get, once you're current, you may get an interview in 90 days. And there are others that are going to take longer, but it would be a little unusual that you're at the 1 year mark. So reach out to your case manager and see what they can get, because it looks like you've met both criteria of being current and DQ'd.
Okay, well, there you go, Michael. Hopefully some useful advice and information for you to move forward. Okay, Chris, I see a question that I actually had this morning. I saw something about this question posted in a nursing group that I'm a part of. Shout out to Lafora, if those of you who are watching may be in it. So Warshian is asking, since the Trump administration under the Department of Education, effective July 1st, 2026, the nursing program will no longer belong in the professional category. How does this affect our EB3 status? So have you heard of this?
I haven't heard of it. I wouldn't, but even if it is, it wouldn't really impact anything. It's still an EB3.
Okay, well, there you go, Warshawn, and myself. I was also a little worried, so that's good to hear.
Okay. Let me jump in there for a second. It's all based upon loan numbers. And if you are applying for a professional degree, you can get greater loans in the U.S. And so they're just dropping it down out of that, which will reduce the amount you can get for a loan, but has absolutely nothing to do with immigration. Under the EB3 category, we have both professional and skilled workers, and they use the exact same category, and nurses have always fallen under the skilled worker category. They would rarely fall under the professional. There might be some H1 nurses or some NPs or others that might fall under the professional category. But even with this announcement, it still would not change that. Bottom line is nothing to do with immigration.
Okay. So bottom line, nothing to do with immigration, has to do with loans,
Yes.
but it's not going to change the status of a nurse when it comes to immigration. Okay.
Totally related to the federal student loan program only. That's it.
Okay. Good news for our nurses who are watching around the world. There you go. Don't have to worry about that one. We got enough to worry about, guys. Don't have to worry about that one. Okay, so let's see. Next question. So, Mike, we're going to go to you. So, Chioma is asking, what is the fate of the H-1B pathway? Will nurses or doctors be exempted? So, maybe you can give a tiny bit of background on the H-1B and the proclamation that recently happened, and if you know any updates that you'd like to share with our group.
Sure. So, in September, I believe it was, I think September 21st, the Trump administration announced an additional $100,000 fee on H-1Bs. And after quite a bit of going back and forth, it seems like the dust has settled, and that will apply to individuals who are coming in for the very first time on of an H-1B visa who are located overseas. So for the nurse who's overseas, or the med tech more likely, because nurses are not always eligible or rarely eligible for the H-1B, but that would demand a $100,000 fee. They've set up a email line to apply for an exemption that you can be under the national interest, unless something has happened in the last day or so. I have not heard of any exemptions that have actually been processed yet. We are aware of some exemptions that have been filed as early as October 15th, and still don't have decisions. We don't know how long that decision is going to be. We don't know what the criteria is going to be. So we're a little bit in the dark. We've certainly tried for some med techs and doctors and nurses to obtain exemptions, and we just don't know the fate. We also don't know whether they'll be consistent. So I would say right now the easy answer is the H-1B pathway is dead for right now. Could be revived either through exemptions, could be revived through lawsuits. There's at least 2 lawsuits pending, one out of California and one spearheaded by the Chamber of Commerce that is in Washington. I don't know that either of them have any time frame to happen anything soon. I don't know. I think January there's a hearing in the California one. I haven't seen a hearing scheduled for the DC one. Chris may have some more update on the exemptions.
Okay, interesting. Chris, anything to add?
I'm more familiar with the DC one. The California one is limited to only the plaintiffs in that case. The DC one is also limited to plaintiffs in the case, but one of the plaintiffs is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which many U.S. employers are members of. What I'm hearing is that we should have a decision on that, the DC case, the Chamber of Commerce case, sometime in the January, February timeframe. And I know on the first case, Mike, maybe you saw this too, there was a call out on AILA that they're looking for additional plaintiffs, which struck me as a little unusual, but I don't know much about that case, candidly.
Interesting. Okay, so I am hearing from you both that the H-1B pathway, I'm going to use a different word than dead, Mike, because we're being positive and thankful for Thanksgiving, and we're going to say paused. It's currently paused because we don't know what's happening. We are seeing if there may be an exemption to the proclamation, but nobody has heard any decisions as of yet. Do you have any idea, Mike, on those cases that you filed an exemption from? Like, does USCIS, I assume it's through USCIS. Do they give you a timeline of when they could respond to that filing?
Well, it's actually through DHS.
Mm.
We all got emails either earlier this week or late last week confirming that they at least have our request, but there's no timetable given. There's no case number because it's not really set up that way. So we're totally in the dark.
Got it. Okay. So as of now, H-1Bs are paused until we know what's happening. Okay. All right. Thank you both. So Chris, we had a question. I now lost the question and the name, but I remember the question. Somebody was asking if there are any updates on HWRA, and I too am curious. Can you update our audience what HWRA is and if you have heard any updates?
Yeah, so the HWRA is a bill in front of both the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House. It currently has 12 co-sponsors, which is a pretty good number considering it's been around for about 2 months. There's an even distribution of Republican and Democrat senators. The Republican senators are, frankly, the more important senators because the Republicans control both the House of Representatives, which is the lower house here in the United States, the Senate, which is the upper house, and of course, President Trump is a member of the Republican Party. The bill would, inject 25,000 visas for nurses, which would, broadly speaking, make every nurse current and probably it would continue to stay current for, some period of time. See our earlier conversation that the data on some of this stuff isn't terrific with respect to the visa bulletin. So whether it would remain current for a week, a month, a year, or 3 years is an open question. But I feel pretty confident in saying every nurse whose I-140 has been approved would immediately become current, and indeed future cases would become current at least for a period of time. So it's all really good news. But any bill is really hard to get through Congress, and any bill on immigration is even that much harder. I do know that there is an active campaign to push the bill. I was in D.C. in October. The group that I was with visited, I think, about 25 or so different congressional offices. There is going to be another campaign in the second week of December. And so that's going on. The bill also provides 15,000 visas for doctors. And I know that the doctor group has a early December campaign as well, where they will be in DC pushing the bill. So, it would be a great bill if it would be passed. There is definitely an active campaign to get the bill passed, but it's very difficult.
That makes sense. Okay, well, thank you for sharing Thank you for sharing the update, Chris. We appreciate it. Always interesting to hear what's happening with HWRA. And hopefully one day soon we will be talking about what implementation looks like because it's passed. So that's our goal. Okay, so Mike, we have got lots of questions in the chat. We're almost at the half hour, so we're going to try take as many of your questions as we can, everybody. Thank you so much for your questions, and thank you so much for joining us. I see we still have people joining us live, so thank you. I see Sunshine Mabuhay watching from Kuwait. Thank you for joining us all the way from Kuwait. I see we have a lot of people joining us, so thank you, everybody, for your questions. Mike, so we have a question from Patience. Patience says, how long more will it take for approval of an I-140 for a Schedule A nurse and adjustment of status? Priority date was June 7th, 2024. I'm here in the United States. Let me know if there's any genuine way to make it faster. I was told it takes 6 months, and it's now been 1 year and 5 months and still counting. So a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, 2 parts to this. There's the I-140 part and the I-45 part, since this nurse is in the U.S. First of all, the processing of an I-140 is Their normal, what they're calling their normal processing time, is now up to 21 months. So we received a response back. We had submitted a service request on a case that was at the 20-month mark, and we received a response that they were not timely to submit a service request yet because their normal time is now 21 months. You can cure that by simply upgrading your case to premium processing, which will cost you $2,805. And I'm not recommending that because your priority date is June 7th, 2024, which means you're not current and able to file your 485 anyway. So there's really no advantage to premium your case other than the fact that you now have an answer. So the first part is the I-140. You said it's been pending about 1 year and 5 months, so that adds up to about 17 months. So you are in the 4 to 5 month mark before you're going to get an answer on the I-140. Then I think if I'm going to look into a crystal ball and say, when will a mid-2024 priority date become current? And it's definitely not going to be this year, I don't think. I would be surprised if it's next year. So you may be looking at 1.5 years or more from now before you become current. Then you can file your 485. And then the 485 itself is going to take anywhere from, say, 9 months to 1.5 years. If they completely implement the interview for every single person who files a 485, those processing times could get longer, particularly depending on where you're living at in the country. If you're near a big city, 485s generally, at one point, back when there was interviews for everyone, a lot of 485s were taking as much as 3 years to process. So you've got some time left, but it appears you're on track and you've got a priority date that's over 1 year old. So that's good. Good for you.
Okay, well, there you go, patients. Thank you, Mike, for all the information. Hopefully that's helpful to you. So I see we have a question and comment from Jerf. Jerf said, I have a current, and I'm going to take this one, so you guys are off the hook. Jerf says, I have a current priority date waiting for ID, however, recently rescinded. Any thoughts on what to do next? So first of all, Jerf, I'm so sorry that you are in this situation. Unfortunately, not just at AMN, but across the market, we are seeing employers on the direct hire side having changes to their market and having to make changes to their pipeline. And I'm so sorry that you were affected. That truly, there's no other word other than that sucks. And my heart goes out to you. However, if you're looking forward, as you should, at your new opportunities, there are a lot of options ahead of you. We are actually going to be doing a special show for any nurses who may have gone through a rescind to talk about different options. We have this show coming up live this coming Monday. The times are listed here. We're going to have Joy Bansag and Deirdre O'Regan on our recruitment team taking your questions live. So please come join that show, learn about your options. I hate to say this because I'm sure you've heard it, but when one door closes, another door opens, and hopefully there's just a better opportunity waiting for you on the other side, Jerf. So please join us on Monday, and we would love to explain to you what your next steps are and what your different options can be. Okay, so Chris, we're going to turn to you. So we have a question from James. James says, for EB3, must a nurse have a certain number of years of work experience? Does it matter? So what advice do you have for James there?
So for an EB3, the nurse has to have a U.S. equivalent education to get a visa, and the nurse does not need to have any specific experience to get a visa. Having said that, the nurse still does have to meet. So that's the legal requirement. An employer may have its own requirements. So some employers will not accept a nurse who doesn't have, for instance, 1 year of hospital experience. So you really need to direct this question to the employer who's sponsoring your potential petition to see if they have any specific requirements.
So James, I think that's a great question. And Chris, thank you for giving the partial answer. I'm going to give the other partial answer from the recruitment side. So while there may or may not be legal requirements that would be in the prevailing wage and what the employer requires, there's also what the employer is looking for. And as we've mentioned many times on this show, it is a very competitive market right now. And you want to make sure that your application stands out. So we created a list of some things that you can do to make your application stand out so that you can reach your American dream much faster and more easily, especially at this time of retrogression when you have time to really make sure that you are making your application very marketable. So number one, pass the NCLEX. That is your golden ticket. That is something that every employer on both the staffing and the direct hire side is looking for. They are looking for an NCLEX pass. Specialty. So it's also good to know what specialty you're in, what employer might be looking for. Different employers are looking for different specialties. Are you able to transfer over any skills? These are things to look at. Current work experience in an acute care setting. So this is highly important right now. This is something that employers are looking for. So if you are looking for ways to up your application, get that current work experience in an acute care setting. It can only help push your application forward, and it's something that we are looking for on both the staffing and direct hire side. Type of qualification matters. So diploma, associates, bachelor's, master's. So different employers will be looking for different levels. But this is another way that you can make your application stand out if you have a higher qualified degree. Years of experience and type of hospital experience. Again, this goes with current work experience. Employers are looking at your application and they are looking to see if you are an experienced nurse. Do you have experience in a hospital, in an acute care setting? This is something that is very important. An English language pass. So I think sometimes we almost gloss over this because we think, oh, you've got the whole time of processing to pass your English. You just got to do it before you have your interview. But this is super important to get that English pass, and it's something that you can work on while your application is processing or right before, even before you apply, because it'll just make you more marketable, something that the employer can tick off ahead of time and know that you already have. It'll also help you with the interview, and that's another way for you to stand out. So those are just some of the ways to make your application to stand out. Okay, so we have lots of questions and not such a lot of time. So Mike, we have a question from Joanne. Joanne asked, our hospital is having a union election soon. In your opinion and experience, is it good or bad to have a union? And how would this affect my immigration processing? Any advice for Joanne on hospital being a part of the union and how that might affect immigration processing?
Yeah, I mean, I think from an immigration processing, there is an effect, but it's not significant. It changes what's called the notification, which for union hospitals takes maybe an extra 30 to 45 days to get a I-140 filed. Because they have to do notification after you've already been hired and have your paperwork completed. That's the way the union notification is done, as opposed to a what we call an internal posting, which is just a document that goes on a bulletin board in a non-union hospital and is not person specific, but can be done for an institution, for a facility, and be left up year round. So there's a little bit of a delay at the beginning of a case, but in a process that's going to take 3 years, 45 days is fairly insignificant. Other than that, the rest of the entire process is identical. So there's no real advantage or disadvantage from a legal perspective.
Okay, well, there you go, Joanne. That's good to know for anybody who might be considering going to a union hospital. No real disadvantage at all. So if you have a job offer in hand and you're excited about the position, accept and move forward with your processing. Get in line, get your place. We have been saying that for a long time. Get your priority date. That's the date that your I-140 is filed. That's how you get your place in line. Okay, so let's see. Hello to Frank, who's watching from Ghana. We've got a lot of people still joining us. Kush from Nigeria. Welcome, welcome. We got lots of questions, so we're going to try to get to as many as we can. So Chris, let's go to you next. So Julius is asking, how long does an MVC case take to be approved?
Assuming you're current, it'll depend on the embassy itself. So different embassies move at different paces, as you can imagine. Different embassies have staffing issues or don't have staffing issues. They have different demand issues. They're busy or not busy. So it really will just come down to the embassy itself. I'd probably say the fastest ones take maybe a month and a half, but we've seen them take as long as 4-5 months. And then occasionally there'll be some embassies, particularly sub-Saharan African embassies, where the timelines are all out of whack because of just particularly acute issues at some of those embassies. So the best thing you can do is talk to your employer and or your law firm to see if they have recent relevant data about the embassy that you're trying to proceed through.
Okay, there you go, Julius. So the timing's probably going to depend on the embassy that you're going to, but talk to your case specialist. They probably, especially if you're with AMN, we have seen a lot of different nurses go through a lot of different embassies, and we can hopefully give you some information and updates based on the embassy that you're going to. Okay, so Mike, we have a question from Olu Wasugan, is asking, at what stage can a file I-140 be recaptured if an employer cancels their sponsorship or contract? So if unfortunately somebody was rescinded, is it possible to recapture their priority date?
Yeah, so there's kind of two parts to that. So an employer canceling the sponsorship does not necessarily mean that they withdrew the I-140. There are employers who will choose to leave the I-140 pending for whatever reason. So the legal rule is that if your I-140 has been approved for at least 6 months, so 6 months post-approval date, then if an employer withdraws it, it has no effect. You still get to use that priority date to recapture it. So what you want to find out is, when was the I-140 approved? So you can count the 6 months. If it hasn't been approved yet, or has only been approved for, say, 3 months, you need to find out whether or not it has been withdrawn and whether their intention is to withdraw it. If it's withdrawn before it's approved, then you do not get to recapture the priority date. If it's withdrawn after it's approved, but before you hit the 6 month mark, you also do not get to recapture the priority date. If it's already past the 6 month mark, the way it's recaptured is with your next petition. So when you find employer number 2, or as Danielle pointed out, they've got some staffing opportunities and AMN is going to file a case for you, then they would take the old approval notice and include it in their new filing and ask for it to be recaptured. There's no special form or anything like that that's done. It's simply part of the new filing, and ask. And when they get their new approval notice, it'll have your old priority date on it. So pretty simple, no extra fees involved, pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you taking that question. And Olu Suwagan, if this is something that's happened to you, as Mike has said, as Deirdre is commenting in the chat, we can refile you right away if you have the documentation and the experience on our staffing side. So that is a quick option for you. If you're interested in finding another direct hire employer, we would love to help you go through that process as well. And our recruitment team is going to be discussing this in detail next Monday, the 24th. So please feel free to join then. We're going to be taking your questions live and focusing on nurses who have had rescinded contracts and what your next steps could be. Okay, so I see a question, Chris, from Alunga is asking, at what stage is the D260 form submitted? Is it immediately after my I-140 approval?
You cut out there a minute. Oh, DS260. I see it now in the text. No, it's not immediately after I-140 approval, unless, of course, you're current or near current. But the reality is it's very inconsistent. They're supposed to wait on the DS260 into your current or near current. But over the course of the years, we've sometimes see the DS-260 get immediately issued after the I-140 is approved, but not always. Again, very inconsistent with that. If you're not close to current, it's probably not something to be worried about. If you are close to current, I recommend you check with your attorney, and they may be able to nudge that DS-260 forward.
Okay, thank you, Chris. So there you go. There's some information on the DS-260 and the I-140 and how those filings relate. So if you are joining us for the first time, we have used a lot of jargon today. And I know even my brain sometimes is thinking, wait, what was the DS-260? What was the I-140? What's a priority date? It can all get very confusing. Chris and Mike, you do this every day. I do this every day, but not as much as you both. And it can feel very confusing. So if you are sitting at home and you are feeling the same way as I am this morning, your head is kind of just, oh, there's a lot. We have some guidebooks for you that walk you through what the process looks like, what all of these different terms mean, help you understand in layman's terms, what does immigration to the United States look like? What are your pathways? What are your options? And we have free guidebooks on our website. So we're going to drop the link in the chat. You can download these guidebooks. Knowledge is power. So take this into your own hands. You can share this with your family and friends. And it's a great way to learn a little bit more so that when you come join these shows, and sometimes we talk about these terms that we're so used to, and you may be at home sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, so many terms, you will know too. So that's a good way to learn. Okay, so Mike, we have a question from Mike, but spelt Mhyke, so very similar to you. And Mike is asking if you have diabetes or any cardiac disease, is that the end of the road for you? So is there any preclusion if you have a degenerative disease when it comes to immigration? Is that something they look at?
Well, there was an announcement made maybe a week ago by Marco Rubio, who's the Department of State, indicating that, yes, they were going to start looking at diabetes and individuals who were overweight even, and for that. There is a medical exam that you have to pass for an immigrant visa. There's been no change in the regulations, no change in the law. Now, for this administration, that really has deemed to be fairly irrelevant often. But I've not seen anything actually enforced that would be different. Normally, being a diabetic would not be a ground of being inadmissible. Being inadmissible for medical conditions has generally been limited to certain types of communicable diseases and things of that nature, which would certainly not include diabetes. So stay tuned for more if there's going to be some proposed changes, because you're right, it was announced. But as of right now, there's no change in the law.
Okay, good. Thank you for the information, Mike. Okay, Chris, we have a question from Nath. So Nath was asking, tell me about how you can help an F1 student without OPT and has an associate RN license. So is immigration an option, and what is the F1? What is the OPT? What might Nath need to know?
Well, I mean, the first thing in any immigration case is you need to find a U.S. employer who wants to sponsor you. So that's step one. You need to find a U.S. employer. Step two is you need to meet their standard. Number one, of course, is going to be that you're going to pass the U.S. NCLEX examination. Until you have an employer and you pass the NCLEX examination, there's nothing anyone can do for you because you're not going to qualify for the visa. Once that happens, then you'll want to make sure that the employer has a good attorney, like Mike's firm or our firm or many other good firms out there, to talk about your specific case to see if you're going to have to return back home to your home country, or whether there's going to be an avenue for you to go to practical training and eventually adjust status, and whatever other immigration options are out there. But again, it starts with an employer and it starts with passing the NCLEX exam.
Thank you, Chris. And you actually led me to my next graphic. I'm going to bring up our success path because we've talked about a lot of different parts of the process, but I think it would be helpful to talk about the process in its entirety. If you are joining us for the first time and you are thinking, what is the process? Where do I even land? How am I going to do this? A lot of things that we talked about today. This is what we call our success path, and this is where I would direct you. This is our 7-step. Obviously, it's very simplified down. There's a lot that goes under each step, but this is how you are going to reach your American dream. This is how you're going to journey on your American journey. So as Chris said, the first step is going to be passing your NCLEX. This is how you are going to start the entire process to make the USA your new home. Once you pass the NCLEX, you can apply to AMN Healthcare, and we have both staffing and direct hire options all across the United States. Again, I want to remind you, you want to make your application the most marketable that you can. So really having that current work experience, having an experience in an acute care setting, those are key things to think about. Passing your English, making yourself ready for the interview. These are very important steps to make sure that your application stands out. Step 2 is going to be preparing for the interview. So this is where we will match you with the perfect match for you, whether that's on the staffing or the direct hire side, and we will make sure that you are going to be coming to the United States and excited with your match. You're going to prepare for the interview. If you get a job offer, which is so exciting, you're going to start your immigration processing. So steps 3 and 4, the visa framework, licensing, and credentialing. This is where you are going to apply for that EB3 visa, and when you are going to go through the licensing to make sure that you have a valid US license. And our team is going to help you every step of the way. You're going to have an attorney who's going to help you every step of the way. We'll help you gather the right documents, help you make sure you have your visa screen, all of the necessary documents and paperwork that you need in order to process your application. Once your priority date becomes current, you go for your interview, you are approved for your green card. Imagine that moment. You are moving to step 5, which is when you get ready to come to the United States. You're doing your happy dance because you have made it through, you've stayed patient, you've persevered, and you are coming to the United States, and we are going to help you get ready. That looks like helping you with language, helping you with clinical, helping you with financial, making sure that you are set up and ready to arrive and feel confident and ready to practice. Step 6 is that arrival sequence. That is where you touch down in the United States, and AMN will be here for you. We have concierge service that is going to pick you up from the airport, take you around the town, help you find your housing, make sure that you are set up and ready for success. If you have a family, we're going to make sure that your family is set up and ready for success. And step 7, which is enjoy and prosper. And that is really our goal for all of our nurses. As I said, we have been doing this for over 40 years. So we have seen a thing or two, we know a thing or two, and we would be very happy and excited to help you reach that American dream. For some of you who have been watching for a long time, you know that I'm an immigrant myself. I will never forget the moment I touched down at Los Angeles International Airport on July 6th, my mom's birthday, and we walked off the plane and we just felt a relief. And I want that for all of you, and you can have that. So please apply on our website. It's amnhealthcare.com/international, and we would be very excited and honored to be a part of your journey. Okay, so Mike and Chris, we are almost at the top of the hour. We have got a lot of questions, so we're going to try to get to as many as we can. And we still have people joining us. Remember, we're live, so thank you everybody who's still joining us. Please make sure to go back. We answered a lot of questions about the visa bulletin, our predictions, HWRA, H-1Bs. We talked about priority dates, DS-260s. And if you are feeling confused with the terms, download the guidebook. We put the link in the chat. Okay, so let's see. We have a question that is from, got lots of questions. We got a question that is from Alex. So Mike, we'll turn to you. Could I apply for an H-1B visa if I'm already in the process to get an EB3, just to move sooner to the US and with a different sponsor? What do you think there?
Well, obviously right now, using the Danielle terminology, the H-1Bs are paused. So that's probably not a consideration right now. But one of the things you have to be careful with is that you likely have signed an employment agreement with the sponsor that's sponsoring you for an EB3. And you've made a commitment to them. And you're now looking to make a commitment to a different employer under an H-1B program. So you want to consider all those factors. And I would talk to your case manager to see what they think. But in general, employers are not terribly interested in pursuing individuals who have already made a commitment to someone and is now trying to change that.
Good advice, Mike. As we say on this show a lot, your commitment to your employer is kind of like a marriage, and you don't want to be breaking that marriage, but you do want to talk to your case specialist and see what a different path may be for you if there is an option, but always good to discuss it with the experts who have been doing this for a long time. So I have a follow-up question. So Mike, I wanted to ask you about the H-1B. So we said that it's currently paused. I see a question from Raul. Hi, I'm currently on an H-4 visa. If my H-1B petition is approved, does the $100,000 fee applicable to me? So I think that means that Raul has an H-1B petition that is currently pending. So for anybody out there who is currently pending with the H-1B, does the fee apply, and is the fee applicable to them or to the sponsor?
Well, if you're already in the U.S. on an H-4 and filing a change of status to a cap-exempt H-1 employer right now, and that change of status can be granted, the $100,000 does not apply. It only applies to individuals coming in from overseas.
Interesting. And what about if you've already got an application pending, but you're overseas?
If you're pending before September 21st, the day the proclamation was made, then it does not apply to you either.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's good clarification there. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so I think we have time for one more question. So Chris, we're going to turn to you to close us out. So DKJ is saying there's a proposed rule to remove or limit OPT and STEM OPT, as well as other regulations for F1 students. What be the path for future students if this happens after graduation?
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are proposed. I've and certainly have heard the rumors that the administration is looking to severely limit both OPT and CPT, but I don't think anything's very close just yet. So I would say let's stay tuned and see what actually happens when the rule is actually formally proposed.
Okay, there we go. Stay tuned, DKJ. All right. Thank you, Mike and Chris, so much for joining us and for taking all of our different questions this morning. We appreciate it every month. We appreciate your time. And I hope that you both have a very happy and joyful Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us today, and thank you so much for your questions. Very insightful. I know I learned a thing or two, so hopefully you did as well. We have our upcoming show schedule, so we're going to pull that up so that you can see what we have to look forward to for the rest of the year. So let's pull up our show schedule, and we also have our AMN Academy schedule and our special show that's going to be coming up next Monday. So our upcoming shows, which are at 7 a.m. California time, our Onwards and Upwards shows, we are going to be having another immigration Q&A on December 19th, right before the holidays. So we are going to hope for some good positive movement there. We also have our AMN Academy shows, which are on Mondays with our partner 9.09er. And we have on the fourth Monday of every month, our Dream Jobs with D segment. And we have a special segment coming up this Monday with Joy Bansag, who is our placement manager, and Deirdre O'Regan, who is our senior director of recruitment. They are going to be discussing contract rescinds explained, what every nurse needs to know. So I know this is an important one. I know a lot of you have been affected, whether that's through us or through other companies. I know right now the market has changed and continuing to evolve. So you want to make sure that you get the most up-to-date information. You want to understand what your options are, how to move forward quickly. And Joy and Deirdre are going to be taking those questions live and giving you some good advice. So make sure to check that out. So thank you everybody for being here with us this morning. We appreciate you. We hope that you choose AMN Healthcare International to come to America for your dream journey. And we're going to drop that link in the chat one more time. That's amnhealthcare.com/international. There is no time like the present than to get your application started. So get your place in line, get your priority date, and start your processing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And to those who are celebrating Thanksgiving around the world, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, everybody. And thank you so much for being here. Onwards and upwards.